Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Drive More and More Profitable Sales with Alan Gormley and Thomas Gleeson. I'm Colin Marsh. I work here at Shopbox AI, and just like to welcome you to this webinar. So just kind of set up why we are doing these from a Shopbox perspective. So we're out there talking to a lot of really interesting technology partners in our network, and one of them happens to be StoreHero. So we're putting together these series to sort of bring together ourselves and these technology partners to kind of expose the really interesting stuff that they're doing to our customers and our network as well, and having a bit of fun along the way as well. So yeah, that's kind of the reason we're doing. So we're looking out for more of these that will be coming up in the future. So without further ado, we'll just kind of move on to the next slide. And the kind of fun thing about this is that the two of us were actually up for an Ecom award tomorrow, or sorry, this evening, both actually in the same category, but may the best company win. So we'll be having either a few celebratory drinks or a few commiseration drinks about it, but we'll still be friends after. We'll see how it goes. But just getting that out of the way, and without further ado, I'd just like to sort of hand it over to Alan Gormley, our CEO here, who will kind of get us kicked off.
Cool, thanks, Colin. Hi, everyone. So Alan Gormley here. So basically, as Colin said, we're working with loads of really good tech companies, and really this is just for us to quickly showcase each other to each other's customers, because there's a lot of good stuff happening out there and a lot of technology we can take advantage of. So we just thought this would be a good forum to help people understand a little bit more about what's happening in the market without having to go out and do massive amounts of research. And especially as we're coming up to Black Friday and Christmas, people need to focus as much as possible on profitability. So we thought this would be a really good start. So what I'll do is I'll just spend 5-10 minutes cover Shopbox for people who don't know Shopbox, and then I'll hand over to Thomas and he'll do the same thing for StoreHero, and we'll see where we are then. Okay, so for those of you who don't know Shopbox, what we do is we create a unique store for every customer. And what we mean by that is we all have e-commerce platforms, whether that's Shopify or Magento or BigCommerce or whatever it might be. But they give a relatively generic feel for each customer. So as a customer, if I come on, I'm seeing pretty much what every other customer is seeing. We're not really those stores don't adapt to individual customers to help them. If we contrast that with somebody like Amazon, Amazon, every time you go to them, it feels like you're coming back to a place that knows you. And they're not just trying to sell you the last thing you looked at, but they're actually trying to build a profile of you and what's interesting for you. So they're constantly drip feeding interesting things in for you. And that's really the focus around Shopbox, is that we want all stores to be able to take advantage of that level of technology. We would prefer if you didn't have to spend 500 million quid doing it. So we've decided to do it for you, and you just pay us a license and that's that done. But really it is about giving that feeling that you get from Amazon to every store. Now, the reason we're doing it is money. Analysts reckon about 35% of Amazon's revenue is now coming from hyper-personalisation. And the thing for us is we want to give this technology to pretty much everyone. So on the other side of this slide, I've got H&M. This is actually a relatively recent screenshot from H&M. And as you can see here, H&M has decided that I'm a guy, which they figured out from that top photograph, actually did figure out that I was a guy. But as a guy, they're trying to sell me dresses. Okay, so it's not just small retailers or medium retailers that are struggling with this. Everybody is struggling with this, and that's why we make this technology available to anyone from small to medium to very large retailers. I'll show you a couple of logos at the end of the types of people we're working with. Okay, so let's move on and talk about what the real problem is. So when we started Shopbox, we looked at the entire industry and we realized that personalization as a concept wasn't really delivering, because if somebody like H&M, who, to be perfectly honest, can well afford to implement personalization and has tried many times, they're so far behind Amazon. It's not working. It really isn't working. And one of the problems, or the real problem that we identified with this, is that we're too transactional. So Google is dropping us in as consumers when we when we type in the name of a product, we get dropped straight into that product, and all personalization engines are trying to force us to the cart way too early. Okay, whereas when we look at the way retail has developed over the last 150 years, we've actually created offline retail stores that allow people to walk through a store in a way that suits them, and they stumble across a load of things, and they get inspired by other products, and they see products that they may not have even considered or come in for. And we have seen that that experience on Amazon is what's driving the 35% increase in revenue. So that's why when we look at this, it's not about trying to find the perfect product. It's actually about constructing something that sits in front of the customer that allows them to move through the store in a way where they get a bit more excited and delighted about what you show them, and they stumble across things that they wouldn't have seen before, whether they're very close to things they've looked at before, or they're things that we know go very well for a person like that. I'll show you an example of what this looks like in a second. But that's the whole concept behind Shopbox, and it's really a different way of allowing a customer to interact with the store. Now, let me, before we jump into results, obviously they're positive, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about profitability. I'm just going to very quickly show you an example of Shopbox in action. And if you know Shopbox, you may not have seen the two components I'm going to show you. So let me jump in quickly here. So we're on Google. I'm going to show you what it looks like. If one of our customers, KitLocker, if you go to KitLocker and via Google and type in something like referee wallet, okay? Now you can see, here's one of the problems you have in Google. KitLocker is immediately competing. Even though we typed in KitLocker, they're forced to compete straight away with competitors. We need your customers out of competitive space and inside your stores. So when somebody clicks in, at that point, Shopbox kicks into action. So here what we've seen is somebody's landed in your store. They've never been inside your store before. This is the first time you're ever seeing them. We see other referee products being recommended down here straight away, which is the concept here is it allows people to move deep into the store very fast. But the thing I really want to show you, this is something we've been doing for quite a long time, is this concept of a personal shopping page. So from that one click through Google into your store, we are constructing an entire space for this customer now within the store. So now all of your customers get to own part of your store. There's a place here that adapts to them in real time, finds new products for them. So we can see we've got everything from product recommendations down to promotions, down to new products. Okay, so now there's a place that belongs to them inside your store, and we're seeing really good uplift from this. In fact, one of our clients ran an email campaign to explain this to their customers. They got over 70% of people opened the email, and over 20% of people clicked through to look at the personal shopping page. So you can see the excitement you get from customers when you put something really specific to them in front of them. Okay, the other thing that we do with this is there's a lot of other things we do, but I just want to show you a couple of the latest, greatest things that that illustrate what we're trying to achieve. The other thing we do here is that outbound email is becoming more important for profitability because we're trying to grow our existing customer bases. It's too expensive to keep buying customers off Google at the rate we've done up till relatively recently. So we've started now, we just launched integration into email engines. Here's an example in Klaviyo. Okay, so this is a Klaviyo preview screen, and what you can see here is this content down here. These three products have actually been chosen in real time by Shopbox, 100% automatically based on the customer's behavior on the website. So as people open up this email, we will fill it with content that's relevant to them. Here you can see this is me. Okay, we'll actually I'll look at one of our colleagues. So we'll look at Rune. Rune works in our customer success team. And here we can see if I was Rune and I received that based on my behavior, I'm actually seeing quite different products. And this is 100% automated. You don't need to do anything in Klaviyo. We just connect it for you in the background, and then everything is 100% automated. Okay, so look, I'll wrap up quickly and follow and pass over to Thomas. Kind of results we see. Obviously, everybody's interested in the commercial results. Typically, we're seeing about 3 times increase in conversion, anywhere between 7-8% at the low end in average order value increases, up to We have some customers running a 35 to 45% increase in average order value. What's key for us at this time of year is you can get value from Shopbox exceptionally fast. So last year, 2 weeks before Black Friday, we were still signing contracts that were live days before Black Friday. So in order for you to take advantage of the Black Friday and Christmas time of year, it's super fast to get up and running. It's basically you give us access, we do the work, you do a review, and we go live. So it's a very simple process. So thanks very much for anyone who doesn't already know Shopbox. And if you did and you see something new, love to talk to you about that. But with that, I'll hand you back over to Thomas.
Perfect. Thanks very much for sharing, Alan. That's really, really interesting. I hadn't actually seen the Klaviyo piece in person yet, but such a really, really important piece for every merchant. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that would get a lot of value from that. Okay, guys, really nice to see everyone here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Thomas Gleeson. I'm a co-founder at StoreHero.ai. We're a Dublin-based company. Myself and Carol are based in the Hawkentry there in Pear Street. StoreHero is a SaaS platform for D2C brands and agencies to really centralize all of the marketing, the e-commerce, but also the financial element of the business. So not just your e-commerce and your Facebook and Google ads. We also want to fuse in your shipping costs, your transaction fees, your 3PL costs, and how does that actually, I suppose in the context of the webinar, how does that all feed into driving more and more profitable orders at the end of the day? So just I suppose to touch into it, where is the complexity at the moment in calculating order level profitability? Yeah, look, there's so many things to consider. I mean, every order's the profitability of every order can just vary at such a massive degree. It's so important for different businesses to get it right. And I mean, there's so many variable components. I mean, you have your sale price, then you need to take in your tax into account. You need to take into account your transaction fees, your fulfillment costs, your shipping costs. And if you have any other returns costs or anything like that, they all need to be factored into. So the characteristics of good and bad orders. And I suppose before we jump into this piece, a good business is going to be made on a flood of really, really profitable orders, obvious, but often a bad business will tend to be killed on a flood of really bad or unprofitable orders going through the system. And that often happens. Nobody sets out to do that. But when you start discounting heavily, or you're starting to implement free shipping thresholds, or you're starting to offer different kind of promotional or often bundling strategies, you can start to see a big hit to your order level profitability. And because it's really difficult to kind of pull that all together, I suppose, between your various platforms that you're running your e-commerce business on, it can often come too little too late, and it can be really difficult to, I suppose, to diagnose that problem. So if we look at what a good order looks like, well, it's going to have a good product margin on it. We're probably going to have our shipping priced in correctly. We're going to maybe have limited or discount unless we have a kind of a well thought through strategy as to why we're actually going to give that discount there. I suppose on the flip side of that, what does a bad order look like? And while we obviously want to maximize those really profitable orders, I actually think the opposite is even more important. We want to really try and ascertain, like, what are those problem orders and why are they happening? Is it a mix of, and this is actually something I suppose Shopbox would really tailor in nicely to. I know you guys can optimize the product mix for margin specifically as well. So is it a mix? Is there an unprofitable order going through the system, or for instance, a flood of them because of poor margin on certain products? Have we shipped a product to Germany and given free shipping on that order and we haven't really priced that incorrectly? Have we seen the impact of a welcome 10 discount, which a lot of e-commerce websites have today, and your free shipping threshold combined with a low margin product? You actually might be seeing decent ROAS on Facebook or Google for that campaign. But when you actually get down to the order level profitability, you could be pumping money into a campaign that is really actually costing you a lot of the money. So really we're trying to look to, I suppose, that component, I suppose, revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. And I think that's just really, really important at an order level. So next up, I suppose, how can you use the order level profitability piece to improve your business as a whole? Well, I suppose if you pop in at the end of every week or every month and you start seeing what do the top 1% of really profitable orders look like, and on the flip side, the really unprofitable orders. For instance, have our really unprofitable orders got that almost perfect storm, or not perfect storm, of heavy discounts, free shipping, low margin product, and maybe not properly priced shipping? How do we, on the flip side of that, have we launched a specific sale or bundling campaign that has brought in a really high flood of profitable orders into the system? Next up, I suppose, and how do we then start to factor that into our site merchandising? If we look at our really unprofitable orders, how are those products, I suppose, merchandised on the site? And even to your point there, Alan, on the Klaviyo piece, are we pumping out email marketing campaigns for the wrong product mix when we're optimizing for margin? Because that's really, really important. We could just have a bestseller that we think is our bestseller. We might need to try and keep pushing this. But actually, is it making us any money at the end of the day? And that's just crucially important. And I think every business, particularly this year, I think as things have got a little bit trickier, need to really be optimizing for that margin piece specifically. Next up, I suppose, on the efficient fulfillment and your shipping. Again, just to make sure that you are not just taking into account your sale price minus your product cost, but you have a lot of other variable components in there. So not just your transaction fee in Shopify, but for instance, if you're an Irish retailer and you're shipping with On Post, if your customer has if you have a free shipping threshold of, let's just call it €50, if your customers then have an order for say €51, you're going to have free shipping on that order. You might have also given welcome 10 discount. That €5 that you're going to pay to On Post minus the €5 you've given in a welcome 10 discount now means you're on a 20% sale, and you probably might not even realize that. So again, it's just crucially important to make sure we have all of these variable factors factored in into the system. And I suppose just to show you here in StoreHero how this works. So for instance, we pop in here, you have a full list of all of your Shopify, your WooCommerce, your BigCommerce orders. You have your date, the order ID, customer ID, what the fulfillment status is, how much the customer has paid, the shipping cost, if a discount has been in there, and really what that gross margin piece is as well. Now, if we want to try and start tailoring this a little bit more, what we can actually start to do is toggle on our shipping country, our shipping paid, fulfillment costs, product costs, taxes, and so on and so forth. And just for instance, this is a good example because this business's free shipping threshold is €70. So this customer hasn't paid for shipping, but we're still taking that component into the mix. This business doesn't operate on with a 3PL, but if they did, we will be factoring that component in here too. And really what we're trying to get to is that place where we can actually see, okay, we're going to look in here at yesterday, and immediately we can see, okay, these are the most profitable orders, and these are the most unprofitable orders, or often loss-making orders. And just with the nature of e-commerce being incredibly fragmented, it can be really difficult to find the unprofitable orders. Largely, most business owners will be able to tell you what the really good or margin-making orders are because they're often the nice ones to look at. But kind of what I probably said at the start there is you're identifying and replicating those really profitable orders is incredibly important. But really, businesses will find a hell of a lot of margin in trying to mitigate against our plan to reduce the number of really low margin making or often loss making orders going through the system. So that's it from StoreHero for today. So really appreciate everyone for listening to me, and I'll just hand it back to you, Alan.
That's great. Thanks, Thomas. So guys, I hope that was useful. As I say, we want to keep these short and sharp. It's really just to, as I say, we're coming across really interesting technology as we're out in the market all the time. If anybody's keeping an eye on my LinkedIn, this is I spend most of my time on Ryanair. Yeah, so the whole point is that we make it easy for people to find new technology. So with that, we'll let you get on with your Fridays. Thomas, best of luck tonight. May the best company win. I'm sure, hopefully it'll be one of us too. But yeah, and if anybody's going to be at the awards tonight, we look forward to seeing you there. Take care. Yeah. Bye-bye.